Room 237 is a Jumperscape audio production. You walk a path few are willing to take, stranger. You've stumbled into Room 237.
Hello, and welcome once again to Room 237. It is me, again, James.
And me, Ashton.
And we have a very special guest. And you might recognize him from the library. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Connor.
Yeah, his name's Connor.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he's a pretty big deal.
To some, I guess.
This week's going to be tough. This movie is quite an uplifting film, wouldn't you say?
Oh, so uplifting.
What are we talking about?
We are talking about the Babadook today.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you. We appreciated that.
I've been wanting to do that.
But this episode was picked by ours truly, Connor.
Yeah.
And it's a movie I hadn't seen since 2014 when it came out.
And I hadn't seen it all.
And she hasn't seen it all.
Oh, what'd you think of the movie?
We'll get there.
Slow down now.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Connor.
This is one of my favorite horror movies, so I'm excited.
Oh.
But of course, before we get into that, I got to get through the formalities. If you want to talk about the Babadook or any other movie that we cover on this podcast, you can head over to discord.gg/Jumperscape. Get yourself into that horror channel. It should ask you right when you join if you want to join our community. Plenty of conversation happening already, and this show hasn't even come out yet as of this recording.
It will on Friday.
On Friday, the 23rd. When this comes out, it's probably April.
We're very excited about it, though.
Very, very excited. It's a very good week to be on Room 237, of course. But yeah, there we discuss horror movies. You know, you can get your suggestions. We do a Q&A every week. If you want to get your questions on there, that's the place to do it. That's the only place we're going to look, and it's the only place we're going to see them. So join today. Talk with us every day. It's a good time. Great community already there. And of course, if you'd like to support this show, help us keep on growing, you can go to patreon.com/Jumperscape as well. We really love your support. We really appreciate it. And we need it. Please.
Please.
But yeah, the Babadook. This movie's not very happy.
I feel like for me, it was a very drastic shift from Nightmare to this.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, fun, goofy, cheesy. I mean, it is still spooky. I think it does hold up.
It's still very scary, but definitely that's more of like a fun vibe, where this was more of like
this movie bums me out.
This movie was all the way downhill until the very end. It's like, okay, let's go up a little bit.
And even then, I feel the ending something feels off.
I think I need to go to therapy.
I have some theories.
I can't wait to see the difference between our notes.
Like we'll get there, but there are points in this movie where I could feel like kind of a little fight or flight because it was reminding me of things that I didn't want to think about.
And I think the two of us specifically, James, have different opinions about what this movie's about.
I think they're more similar than you think, but once we get to that argument/discussion, and who knows, we don't even know Connor's take. I'm kind of excited.
I've got some. I want to. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Alrighty.
So, but yeah, this movie came out in 2014, and it was directed by Jennifer Kent. It's an Australian film.
Yes. And actually, this movie is actually this full-fledged idea of a short film she did back in 2005 called Monster.
No way.
Yeah. It's basically the same content, except it doesn't have a name and there's no like book thing going on. But it's traumatized mother dealing with grief, and her child sees a monster. Suddenly she sees a monster. And it's basically the same content. But she wanted to fully fledge out the idea, and that's where the Babadook came from. And actually, the name Babadook, which I have two separate things that I've heard about the name Babadook at this point when I was doing my like pre-show research. So in one of them, I was told that she has a friend who's Siberian, and she asked him what the name for like it was like the devil was, and it was like
Boogeyman.
Oh yeah, it was Boogeyman. You're right. It was Baba. It was like Baba.
Babushka.
No, it wasn't Duck. It started with. Hold on, I'm googling right now. Yeah, so I think it's just Babe or Babai, and she was like, that's kind of lame that it just ends there. So she called it the Babadook. But I'm also seeing here on the trivia page on IMDb that in Hebrew, Babadook means he is coming for sure.
And you can't let him in.
So that's where the Baba.
So calm down. Calm down.
What?
God, okay.
Sir, we haven't gotten to that part of the movie yet. We haven't gotten to that part of the movie yet.
Oh, do we have to talk about that scene?
I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Speaking of scenes.
So, yeah.
This is a movie that's going to be a little hard to kind of do our usual scene by scene because it has so many overarching themes. It has a progression. Mm-hmm. It's more about the progression of these characters. Mm-hmm. This mother and her son.
Yeah, it's about, I think, the mother's progression through her grief, even though it's 7 years after the accident. But we start off kind of seeing what happened in a nightmare memory sequence where we see she's pregnant and she's breathing really hard, and suddenly she is in an accident with her husband. And we hear in the background her son saying, "Mommy, get up." And then she wakes up.
And then the movie starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we get into it.
And right off rip, like for like the first 10 minutes, you get a very good idea of this child. He's different.
He's hilarious. I love him.
Yo, can we talk about this boy's future in weapon development?
For real, he's so crafty.
Like, holy crap.
Actually,
and that's important. I feel like that's important because the thing is, I feel like I'm getting way ahead of myself, but right off the rip, you see the mom looking at this kid, like exploring the world in his own unique way, basically. Mm-hmm. You know, he's tinkering with things, like he's making weapons. That's concerning. But at the same time, a mother in a healthy state of mind would try to just take interest in what their kid's doing, but she clearly does not care / is just disturbed.
Yeah. And actually, very quickly into the movie, we see him using a saw. And that's where the first thing on my list of things I wouldn't do comes up, which is leave a saw where a child can get to it.
He's
7 years old. How did he get to a saw?
I think he just snuck into the basement.
Either way, there should have been... You leave the saw on a high enough shelf where the 7-year-old can't get to the freaking saw.
Or how about hide the key where he doesn't know where it's at?
Yeah, that's the confusing part to me. It's like, could you not find a better hiding spot for the key to the basement you don't want him to go to?
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 or 3 times in that movie, he grabs the key and opens that door.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you'd think she'd get the hint that, hey, your hiding spots aren't very good. But because I could think of like just keep it on you at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, so we kind of get a glimpse into their lives. She is a nurse for, it looks like, a nursing home. And the job is tedious and boring, as you would think being a nurse for a nursing home might be.
I feel like the monotony of her life is intentionally supposed to be oppressive on you. Like, you feel it. You just feel the boredom.
Yeah, other than her coworker Robbie, who definitely has the hots for her.
I don't know about the boring in a nursing home. Like my sister, she worked in one.
Oh, I don't think it's boring.
Yeah, there's nothing. Like,
That's a good point.
She was giving me stories every day.
It's not boring, but it is very taxing.
Yeah, that job's not for me.
Her job, what we see of her job though is very just
the worst
the same over and over and over again.
The bingo scene is like just the
5 billion anyone?
5 billion.
5 billion.
5 billion. Oh wow, 5 billion. I said. Oh, they didn't raise their hands. I said, wow, no one raised their hands.
I was very shocked no one raised their hands. 5 billion is a great offer. No, time to stop.
But we also get a glimpse into her child's school life, because he goes to school with the crafty little weapon he made in one of our first sequences, and
a little crossbow pistol.
Yeah, and he gets in some deep shit.
All right. In my notes, we've crossed over the part where they got the book for the first time, I think.
Oh yeah.
So in the book it said something about being friends with the Babadook. What does that mean?
Yeah, neither of them are friends with I think later they are friends with him, but no one's friends with him in the beginning.
I think that depends on your interpretation of what the Babadook is.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think the Babadook does not exist.
And that's how he gets stronger, and then
I think all right, we're getting into this. I think the Babadook is quite literally the mother's grief in this.
Metaphorical?
Like he literally is the representation of her grief. He is the reason he becomes so strong is because she just won't get over it. Like she won't go through grief. She has from the beginning of this movie. So sorry, let me backtrack. There are 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. They aren't supposed to go in a straight line. Actually, the idea is that you kind of cycle through all those feelings when you're going through grief. The whole first act of this movie, she does not leave the denial stage. And this is fueling the Babadook. And as she's in the denial stage, she's also denying that the Babadook exists. So anyway,
sound like you had something to say.
Oh, I got very all my notes are about smaller things and kind of or just bothered me. The child mentioned that he bought the fireworks online. Can you really buy fireworks online?
I think it came in the magic kit.
That's what I think too.
So that's why I said you bought them for me online.
Yeah, but
bought them for me on the internet.
Great Australian accent, mate.
And then the one I had, which was a follow-up question, was: should the boy focus on his magic or his weapons making?
Both at the same time,
because they're both curious. The thing is, they're both curiosities.
Yeah,
and I think they're meant to this kid is to the extreme level of a child and his curiosities and his interests, but it's still meant to show that she as a mother is not getting invested in her kid or trying to make him feel normal.
So yeah,
she's contributing to how he feels weird and further stunting his development.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and he's definitely, I like this kid. This is kid I would have hung out with in elementary school. He meets somebody in the grocery store and the person says, "We got to get home to daddy." And he goes, "My dad is in the cemetery." Which is such a 7-year-old thing to say.
Yeah.
His mother freaks out.
I have a feeling of all episodes, this one's going to be the most out of order. Because I feel like this is a movie that you just kind of talk about as a concept. And we loosely go along with the plot. So just shout out our thoughts as we go, and we'll slowly get towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, but
my notes are completely in order. If we want to Try.
Yeah,
so
so
am I.
are mine, but it's so hard with this one.
I don't
But
know.
let's talk about the scene with the book.
Yes.
So mom says, go ahead and pick out, whatever story you want to read tonight. And he grabs this red book that says the Babadook on it.
It
And
doesn't say Mr. Babadook.
oh, it says Mr. Babadook. You're right.
Actually, it says Mr. Babadook.
And mom's confused. She's never seen this book before, but she goes ahead and starts reading it. And it is very scary. And at one point, she realizes it's really scary. And so she goes, why don't we read something else?
And then the kid cries.
Yeah, the kid.
No,
the kid's like, no, I want to keep reading. You said I could pick.
Right.
And like 2 pages later, he's lying in her lap, screaming and crying.
And that's the second thing that makes it to this list is that I would not keep reading the obviously scary book to my kid right before bed.
I think that's the confusing bit about the movie.
She
and
didn't know until she started reading.
Well, right, but she stopped for a reason. And when you're a mom, it's your responsibility to protect your kid.
Yeah.
And it goes into the whole theme of this where she is really, really struggling to be a mom to him because she kind of blames him almost. I don't know if blames him is the right word, but
Why can't you be normal?
resents.
she resents him, yeah, for her husband's death.
And throughout the
Yeah.
first, there's no point in the beginning of the movie where you feel that this mother loves her kid.
Mm-mm.
And
She feels
the
like
movie
she's
tries to, I feel like the movie, by making him like obnoxious and ornery, tries to make you sympathize with her almost. But at the same point, you look at her as a parent and you see she's just not doing anything about it.
Yeah, 2 of my notes on here about the kid being very kickable.
He is very kickable.
I like him though.
I like him later. That's the thing the movie does is early in the movie, he is really annoying.
Yeah,
and he does just scream all the time. And his like fantasies are kind of scary.
I'm trying to hold off his character development until later on.
Yeah.
Personally.
But he definitely is a little bit annoying at the beginning, but I think a lot of that is we're seeing it through her eyes, and to her everything he's doing is just something she can't control. And so every single thing that he does just annoys her. And it's probably just normal kid shit that if you think about it, it is just normal kid shit that he's doing. But it seems like so much because we're witnessing it from her perspective where she doesn't even like feel like this is her kid almost. Like she feels like this is the reason her husband's dead instead.
Handheld crossbows and shoulder-made trebuchets.
Other than that,
I think
Climbing on-
shoulder-held trebuchet.
shoulder mount.
When you
like-
just say it like that, it's great.
It's what it is.
The thing in this movie though is like I said, it's an exaggerated version of normal kid shit, but that's because she's not done the necessary parenting to like hone it, like
she's probably.
direct it.
she let her kid have a saw for Christ's sake.
I say he snuck into the basement and got that, but at the same time,
Either way, a good
we're-
parent makes sure that you don't have the ability to sneak into.
this is also 7 years of no father.
No father figure on this kid.
Yeah, no, it's
Not
all
really a
mom.
mother figure either. That's the problem.
Yeah, she's been completely out of it the entire 7 years.
because that's kind of like the vibe you get is like this isn't a recent development. This is probably just always how she's treated him, which is not at all.
And I think it's part of the denial state, like part of her grief is she's also kind of just like denying that anything is happening. So like that her kid is a kid and that he's growing up and that she has to, parent. So she kind of just goes through the motions like you would if. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have had this dream, but I have. Where you literally have a child.
Nope.
I have. It's very emotional when you wake up and you no longer have a child anymore. But like you kind of just go through the motions of like parenting and like just try to do what you think, like what you would see like your parents doing, but not like, you know, just like the basics, you know what I mean?
The basics.
Where you're just like, okay, I fed them, I got them to bed,
And
I got them to school, and I put clothes on them, and that is good enough. Because this isn't real, and this is a dream, and this isn't a kid that I actually have to worry about because it's not real. And I think that's kind of what she's going through. Is she's like kind of denying that any of that even happened, like she died in the car accident or something. And
she's just doing the bare minimum that
yeah.
this child lives.
Yes. Because she's just denying all of it.
One random side tangent. I love the color grading in this movie because it ebbs and flows throughout the entire film. Like whenever they're, you know, out in public, it's a little brighter, but
I like the day and night cycles.
oh yeah. Whenever they're at their house, everything is just this kind of gray.
Well, fun fact, the short film this is based on is in black and white.
While we're
fun.
on a side tangent, any theories on how the book came to be?
Grief.
It's hard to say.
Manifested through her grief.
Because for everything in the movie that I can account to, basically the kid's imagination and the mom's psychosis, that's the one thing that feels like it's real, at least at first.
My theory is that the kid did a magic thing wrong and just brought the book into existence.
That's
fun. That's fun.
And that's just a theory.
I think
movie theory.
I think it's as simple as it was a creepy old book that was just in the house and he found it. I think it's that simple.
Also,
that is kind of what the book alludes to. So there's an extended version of the book that you could have gotten in 2014 as like a collectible. They made hold on. I have how many they made.
Well, while you pull that up, I'd like to think of the book. It came with a little DVD because at one point we got to see the Babadook in whatever TV show he was in. Was it a DVD book set?
Oh,
Ooh.
So that TV show he's in is an old it's before films. It's a silent film. I forget what the director's name was, but it's just the magical book, and basically it freaked people out because he was just doing that. He pulls a person out of the book in the original film. So yeah, I don't think it's the book set. It's not like a movie set. It's just old silent films that were on TV late at night. Sorry, I just know that tidbit.
I like the DVD book set combo.
Connor's like, I'm sticking to that.
So there were 2,000 copies originally made of the book, and 9,500 of those were sold. And in those copies, there's extra stuff that basically explains the rest of the movie. And the whole point is that the Babadook is there and always will be there. So the only thing you can do about the Babadook is basically like accept it, and it becomes really small. It says this, I become small in the book, and you just kind of got to take care of it. You got to let it have a home in your house. So the book kind of just being there goes along with this thing that the Babadook's always been there and always will be there. He was just small before, and he's been feeding off of her grief for so long that he became big.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Like, I agree. Awkward silence.
Emkey.
I had to sip my beer. I'm sorry, guys.
We like to have fun here.
So going back to another scene that I all the scenes where the Babadook showed up for a frame or like a few seconds, all my favorite parts in the movie. But at the beginning of the movie, they first showed the jacket sitting there on the wall. You think the kid did that, or just kind of like set up as his dad?
This is how she sets up. So this is a thing
no,
that
no.
In the basement on the wall.
There's that Babadook fit nailed to the wall.
Yes,
and even the arm was up.
Those are her husband's clothes. She put all of her husband's stuff in the basement to hide them from the kid and to hide them from herself. That's why she doesn't want to go in the basement.
Yeah,
So
but
do you
I think the kid set up the clothes because he was practicing what he was going to do to the Babadook, and I think that was his dummy.
Yeah, this whole time, like I only realized until now that it was the kid that did it, not the Babadook. I kind of thought,
Yeah.
because anytime it like anything resembles something in like a horror movie, I'm like monster.
But also she puts her clothes up like that all the time. It
Yeah.
bothers me this entire movie. Who
Are you
puts full outfits just like someone's wearing them on hooks and on like mannequins and stuff? No, is this a thing that happens?
on hooks? I can get on a mannequin.
I don't know. I mean, if there's any Aussies, is that a thing in Australia? Do people just have mannequins in their house that they put clothes on? I need to know if this is just normal there.
Can
Do you
let
lay
us
out
know,
your?
mate?
Jeez.
Sorry, I know that's not how you refer to each other, but I think the C word's a little too intense right now.
I mean, we are asking Australians questions here and kind of speaking to Australians. I don't think they mind the C word that much.
No, they definitely do not.
They're probably like, why don't you say it?
Man. But honestly, the character's name's Amelia.
That was the mom's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the kid's name's Samuel.
I don't think they mentioned the mom's name once.
I'm seeing it on IMDb. She's played by Essie Davis. The first half of this movie is pretty much just setting up her life and her relationships. And her sister, Aunt Claire,
I got a note there.
is just basically the mirror image of what her life could have been. Is kind of the vibe I'm getting. Like, content, happy, raising a quote unquote normal kid, you know, a really mean normal kid. Your daddy's dead and it's your fault.
Speaking
He
of,
died because he didn't want to be with you.
I actually have a note that kind of brings up that scene. I would like to talk about how strong is this child, for one? Because if you didn't notice, when he pushed that girl out of the treehouse, she fell backwards onto her back, but she fell face down. Did he push her so hard that she did a full flip in the air to land face down?
That sounds like talent.
That sounds like a little bit of a mix-up in how they cut that scene.
Or is this?
Or maybe did she turn around or like start turning when he went to push her? Maybe
I'd have
to like
watch.
get away, because he does go from the corner of the treehouse and runs at her. She might have like went to like run away and then he pushed her in the back.
My guess is they just wanted the visual of the kid's nose bleeding.
Yeah, I think so too.
And they just kind of had her land that way.
Yeah. I like to think that he's super strong.
She might have turned in the air to try and catch herself.
Oh, that might have been it too. It's a very short fall though, but yeah,
Still like a 10-foot drop.
yeah.
When is the first time the mom sees the Babadook?
So-
It's when it's at the neighbor's house, right?
So yeah,
When she
so
looks across to the old lady, I think that's when it is.
and it's when she started. So she started at that party scene.
What happened first? I'm sorry to cut you off, but was it when she first looked across to the old lady's house or at the police station? What came first?
She didn't see the Babadook at the police station. She saw a hat.
It was the
was-
Babadook. His
it was
hands.
hands.
His hands were there.
But the whole point is that it's not. It's just like something hanging there.
No, it was him.
his hands were coming out of the jacket.
I saw them.
But I think it's not just an
She
outfit.
doesn't fully, but we're talking about her fully like seeing him. That's not her fully seeing him. That's her thinking she's going a little bit crazy.
I would raise the question: seeing him or accepting him, but the acceptance came at the end.
Acceptance, acceptance comes at the end. I think that's the whole point.
Because she's still saying he's not real way into the movie.
Until she sees him.
Stay close, stranger. The room awaits you after these messages.
I think
No,
she denied even after she saw him.
Yeah, because I'm getting way ahead of our when in the book it says when I take off my disguise.
Oh,
it's
when
he does in the movie you don't see him, but he does take off the disguise, which is his whole outfit and basically shape.
Husband.
Yes. Even then, when she's lying on her back, like trying not to look at him, she's screaming, "You're not real! You're not real!"
Oh, when he was crawling all over the ceiling and whatnot. I think
that too.
I think that's when he first fully showed his form.
Yeah. But it's after so I want to get into my stages of grief thing again. She does start going into anger. And the first real time you see the anger come out is at that party. I think.
Where
she yells.
Cope.
Yeah, where she yells at the rest of the parents. That's one of the stages. That's the second stage of grief. And she kind of goes through that. She's angry at her kid. Because before that, she's not angry at him. She just kind of like doesn't let his antics even bother her a little bit. Like she doesn't notice. Yeah, she avoids them. And then she gets to the point where she's yelling at him for things and punishing him, and then immediately being like, you want to go get some ice cream, or you want a treat, or because initially she does get mad at him for telling Claire's daughter about the
Babadook.
Babadook.
Because honestly, I don't think it even comes from a place of trying to get the kid to realize it's not real. It's more coming from a "you're embarrassing me" kind of place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the party happens.
Yeah. So she said she wasn't going to let him go to the party because of him telling the girl about the Babadook. And then suddenly a couple scenes later, they're going to the party. And
the kid doesn't even want to go.
No.
He's like literally like, do we have to go to the party? Like, do we have to go to Ruby was the kid's name. And like I said, it's the going to the party is not for the kid. She wants to go to try and just be normal and just forget and avoid everything.
Mm-hmm.
But after the party, after he pushes her out of the treehouse for saying some pretty terrible things to him, I can't really even blame him for pushing her.
No, I don't even.
Like, I'd have done the same.
Exactly. Like, that's when we get the meme. That's when we get the meme scene on the drive home. You know, why can't you be normal?
and that's another thing where we see her being angry. But isn't that where he sees the Babadook in the car?
I think
yes, he convulses and like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The first.
And that's where I see a mix of the denial and
he sees
the anger.
The Babadook. I have a theory about this.
Mm.
The kid has an overactive imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the kid ever sees any of the things that the mom is seeing.
Mm.
I believe
that tracks.
I believe the mom is basically in a grief, depression-induced psychosis in the last half of this movie. And it's progressively getting worse. Just because of a lot of her behaviors I've witnessed in person. Like, I've had someone that I am close to in life that I had to witness go through a psychosis episode. Reminded me a lot of that. It was not fun to watch, but that's how I crafted this theory that she's having a psychosis episode. And this kid with his overactive imagination is unknowingly
fueling it.
But I don't think they ever showed like the kid seeing the Babadook in its true form.
They never do. He looks at dark shadows and gets scared.
You're so right about that.
So I think everything you see in the movie, I don't think the Babadook is metaphorical because some people say that.
No,
like,
I think
she is
he's
seeing
real.
this. She is seeing this stuff.
Well, if
I don't think he's real. I think he is a manifestation of her own psychosis.
I think he's like a real manifestation, like a full manifestation.
I was kind of thinking to myself, if he took the form they took in the books, and the kid also saw the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he did see the Babadook, he's gonna see what the mom sees.
Yeah,
Maybe. Because
I do think some of it
Just
might
a
be his
theory.
overactive imagination, but also I think the kid is also supposed to serve as like what's the right word for the character that warned you?
Like a me
Harbinger.
Oh.
Like a harbinger. He keeps trying to he knocks her down when she.
Yeah, and something I forgot that I wanted to say was he probably he might see the Babadook as what it is because he tells his mom, I don't want you to die. I don't want you.
Yeah,
Like-
that's exactly what I was about to talk about.
He knows the Babadook is violent.
Yeah, because he runs into his. I forget what exactly happened, but he ran into his room and his mom tried to grab him and grab his like little catapult weapon thing away from him, and he screams at her, "Do you want to die?"
Mm-hmm.
So he's seeing. I think he knows.
I get that. I think that all the things the kid is imagining and saying about the Babadook is feeding into what the mom is seeing. If that makes sense. Because that's just the form that her psychosis hallucinations are taking. Because I think that the kid knows what's up. The kid knows that the Babadook is something attached to her.
Yeah, he definitely knows that.
He knows it's not technically after him.
Right, and he knows it's not his imaginary friend either.
Well-
Like that's something that I'm glad none of us said, because I feel like a lot of people would take this as, ooh, kid's imaginary friend becomes real, but it's so not that.
Well, I think another reason why the Babadook didn't go after the kid is because he acknowledges its existence and the fact that the Babadook was real, where the mom didn't. And
Yeah.
And he also
who got attacked?
Here's the other thing. He also acknowledges his father's existence and that he died.
He very much acknowledges that his father is dead. Yeah.
So that is why
He
And
never got to know his dad, though.
and one thing too is that Amelia never mentions that he's dead until the very end. She never says that her husband is dead until the very end.
which
Not
is
her
very telling.
particularly. Yeah.
Um,
Still in denial.
A funny part of the movie for me is when the book comes back.
I love when the book comes back.
Because when it comes back, she's going through it. You see new pages in it. You're like, okay.
Mhm.
And as she's going through the pages, she's moving all these pieces of paper just repeatedly.
And
Like the choking piece, just
Yeah, she and
the killing
herself part.
I have
on repeat.
oh yeah, I have something about this whole when the book comes back that I think is evidence of my theory. When she burns the book, you do not see the book itself catch fire.
That's true.
It's not really there.
I want to rewatch. I've never actually noticed that small detail. I wanna
Because all you see is the book in the fire and then ashes on her hands after. You don't see the charred remains of the book. You don't see anything like that.
Yeah.
She just burned the book. You know, apparently. You see her look at Samuel, but as far as he knows, he's just watching his mom stand in front of an open flame.
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
Samuel does not acknowledge the book directly at all.
But he picked the book.
No, I mean,
After
when it comes back.
After that, yeah, when it comes back.
Yeah.
But it does foretell the things to come when it comes back.
And yes, it does, but I think that is self-fulfilling prophecy and intrusive thoughts manifested as this book.
Also, the book
Mhm.
moved at one point. It got taken from the top shelf and
Oh, yeah,
wherever in
'cause
the
he
house
grabs
into the
the-
bedroom.
He does. After she got rid of the book the first time, he brings it up again, and it's in the top. It's on the top shelf in his bedroom.
But okay, I might be misremembering the scene. She finds it there.
Yeah, she does find it.
I think
there,
that's when she takes it and burns it.
Yes. No, she finds it there and rips it up and puts it in the garbage.
Oh, I
and
thought
it
it was
comes-
after she did that.
And then
Yeah.
it comes.
Yeah, but yeah, because she had hidden it the first time. Yeah, you're right.
And all this can be like chalked up to she's already starting to fall apart. She might have literally moved the book there.
So after
I like that thing.
after he has that seizure, she goes to the doctor and basically begs the doctor to give her
Sedatives.
for him.
And he does.
he does eventually give them to her, but
And this is when you start to see the dynamic shift between mom and son.
yeah.
This is when mom starts becoming the most concerning.
Yeah, my notes are taking a shift, and I this is gonna be fun for me. Did anyone else think there was kind of like two possessions that happened in that movie, or just the one?
I think what you're thinking is the first possession is what I was about to bring up. When she gives him the sedative and she sleeps that first day, and then the next day she's like depressed as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about that?
Yeah.
I'm thinking she's moving on to the stage of grief that's depression, and she's not caring anymore, like at all. She has no feeling anymore. And the kid's sick and doesn't feel well because of the sedative she's giving him, and she doesn't care. She yells at him actually when he says he needs to eat something because the sedatives are making her
She tells
nauseous.
him to eat shit if you're so hungry.
The reason why I thought there was a first possession, because I'm like, oh, it looked like it went into her, and then later on she just goes, "Why don't you stop talking?" The three knocks.
Talk.
She said
With
that
the
like
nightmare.
Ooh.
With the nightmare of him being like a cockroach
No, it was
on the ceiling, and he jumps at her.
She was awake to him when she.
I
said
think
that.
that's a nightmare. Personally,
What?
that's why I don't think she saw the Babadook until she sees him
That's what you're
at
talking about.
when the talking part being in the
No, we're talking about when she wakes up after that nightmare, and he's like, "I took my pills. My stomach hurts. I need to eat. You said I needed to eat," and she's just like, "Why do you keep talking? If you're so hungry, eat shit." But the night before, she has the like sleep paralysis, like kind of moment where the Babadook's on the ceiling, and I think that's the first quote unquote possession.
And after this point, she's acting weird, like sitting in a bathtub, sleeping with the violin.
Well, that's why I think that's why I think she moved on to the next stage, which is depression. That's how I act when I'm depressed.
Bathing in your clothes?
Sometimes. I'm not kidding.
Damn.
There's just it's the lack of feeling, and you just want to do something so that you feel something.
Yeah, the hassle of hanging up my clothes, like that's just too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit to a line right after they get back from the doctors. It was the biggest oof in the movie. It's when Samuel says, "I love you, Mom," and then she goes, "Me too."
Yeah, that I'm like, yeah,
she can't even say "I love you."
You said something about that while we were watching. I'm like, oh
shit.
Yeah, because that is.
I think she was actually.
You're scared of me saying that, aren't you?
I mean, yeah.
Actually,
because that is.
Is that why you think about that?
That is a dead giveaway of I don't want to say I love you.
Also, I actually have a note on that. I think at that point, I don't think it was the mom. I think it was the Babadook. Because why would she? No, wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. There's a point in the movie where he called her mom, like, "Hey, Mom." It was way before she was all like strapped down in the basement, and he was like, "Mom." That's not your mom.
But it was during this what you called the depression period, where because I wrote a couple theories and my theory that I decided to go with was answered immediately after that. At this point, it is a psychosis episode, because she's just completely detached from reality for the rest of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, as a person who's experienced this, it is just detachment from, like, just even if you're not going through psychosis, like, it's just like life is happening and you're just there. You don't really feel it at all. It's really kind of frightening in, thinking about it back. But it's just like, especially, so for me, my really bad, like, depression hit right when everyone was quarantined. And actually everyone else got out of quarantine and I didn't, long story, but I was stuck in my house and life was happening without me. And, this is just how I acted through that. I didn't have psychosis or anything, but I acted exactly like this. I just moved through.
Well, the thing is, if you have psychosis, you have to get medical attention immediately. I mean, yeah, there's no just snapping out of it, like that easily. Yeah,
I don't have any experience with psychosis, so I can't really talk on that subject.
I mean, it can happen many different ways. It's more typical with like schizophrenia. But basically, your brain completely detaches from the world around you, and you're not going to make any sense. That's a very oversimplified way to put it, but that seems like what's going on, because I feel like we're in her perspective the entire time. We don't know what the kid is actually experiencing in his perspective, because for him, his mom's just sitting there staring at the TV and then gets up and just like either angry, scared, crying, or just like, Samuel, I'm sorry. Like, and that all happens in the span of like 20 minutes. And I think it kind of comes to a head. There's a couple times where like she starts just seeing things when she's watching TV, but she like closes her eyes, opens them, and Samuel's sitting there, looking like he's sleepwalking, essentially.
Well, I think she's dreaming there.
Yeah.
She fell asleep watching the TV and now she's having a dream. And this is where I get to the next stage of grief, so that's why I chimed in here. Because she follows sleepwalking Samuel into the basement and then he's not there anymore. And sees her dead husband and is really happy. I thought you were dead. And he says, well, we can be together if you give me the boy.
I want the boy.
Yeah. And that's where we get to the bargaining stage of grief, where she's like dealing with trying to come up with a way that he can be alive again. But good for her. She says no and don't call him the boy.
His name is Samuel.
Boy.
And then the Babadook freaks the hell out.
Right.
He's not happy about it.
Right.
But he chases her around. Oh, go ahead, Connor.
I was going to say, right before everything started getting interesting, on the TV, they showed a wolf going into sheep's clothing. I kind of thought that kind of tied into what the mom was about to do.
And I think it pretty much is what happons.
Because that's like, when the possession starts.
Yeah, up until now, I never put two and two together. I'm like, oh, that's a theme. Oh,
because essentially she wakes up after this. She's getting chased around by the Babadook in her own house. He sees the Babadook in that really awesome Nosferatu-esque shot coming down the hallway.
I literally braced myself for that shot.
Also, here's something I put together. So, when he took that pill to fake her mom out, I'm willing to bet he used his skills in magic and sleight of hand.
Yes, most definitely.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little connection I made. I'm like, ooh, that's cool.
It's a good thing he did
Yeah.
because this was a good night to be awake.
Yeah, he totally would have got clapped in his sleep. He totally saved himself with his magic skills.
She gets possessed. So what happens is in her dream, basically, she runs away from the Babadook.
She's awake at this point.
No, because she wakes back up in the chair.
Yeah, after she gets chased out by out of the basement, I'm pretty sure.
No, she goes upstairs and she puts, so it's chasing her, and she goes upstairs, locks herself in her room, and puts a chair under the door handle.
Wasn't that part of the dream?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
And
I lost track.
And the hat falls through the chimney, and it's you get the feeling that it exists wherever she is.
Oh, I must have missed the hat coming down the chimney when I was typing a note.
Because the hat comes down the chimney.
Damn it.
And then
If you remember the book, it says like when he takes off his disguise, you will wish you were dead. That's him starting to take off his disguise.
yeah, the hat comes down the chimney, and next the coat falls in front of her, and that's when she's saying it's not real, because she's dreaming. And she basically crawls herself along the floor, and we see the Babadook like it seems like he hits her from behind.
Basically, you get the visual that it entered into her.
Yes,
through her
because we
back.
get her pupils.
The real
Expanding.
possession this time around.
Yes.
And then she wakes up.
Then
in
she
the
wakes
chair.
up in the chair.
Yeah.
And I forget what she does, but Samuel and Bugsy.
Oh,
Bugsy, the adorable doggy that was in this movie that I didn't want to talk about.
he did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
They're watching her. And Bugsy's been wary of mom this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
That scene hurt so bad when she's clearly broken and she's like, Bugsy, hi, come here, Bugsy. And she like picks him up and he like squirms out and barks at her. It's like, when you're at your lowest point and your dog rejects you, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
There's a point where that dog, like, she got up and that dog stopped barking. They had to have CGI'd that dog's face, because that dog had a face of, oh shit.
I think it was a really well trained dog actor.
I would love to know the behind the scenes on that.
And-
That dog was sitting there just with the spideyest of face. That's a new word. Fuck.
By the way, I want to shout out for anyone who was not ready for this when they watched this movie in preparation for this episode. There's a website. It's called Does the Dog Die? You can enter in any movie when you see a dog on screen, and it'll tell you if the dog dies, how, and all the details on if the dog dies.
Oh man, that would have been really great before I watched
this is a
Old
good
Yeller.
time. This is a good time to shout that out, because I usually, anytime a dog pops up in a horror movie, I go straight to Does the Dog Die to mentally prepare, because I can never handle it.
I knew it was coming too.
Speaking of not handling it.
When she wakes up and the dog comes up to her, I literally hid myself in dreams.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I literally just held her head and tried to cover her ears so she didn't have to witness
her breaking the dog's neck.
very slowly.
So what did you think when they alluded to it in the book?
In research for this episode, actually, I found out the plot of it. And that's how I got the forewarning about the dog. So I knew that the dog was going to die. So as soon as she stood up for that
spoiled.
possession, yeah. So as soon as she was possessed and I saw the dog run down the stairs, I was like, this is going to happen now and I don't want to witness it. So
Well, it's one of the hardest dog dying scenes in a movie. Like, let me say, dog getting killed by a person in a movie.
Yeah, that one was brutal.
Because it's yelping, then getting aggressive, and then yelping because it's not working,
And then the subtitles added just that much more.
and then just thankfully just crack and it's over.
Next
And
snaps.
we're gonna move on to not bum everybody out. But
So then we see that Samuel is hiding on the stairs and she sees him and she goes chasing after him.
Dude, she aimbotted right to him.
Yeah.
Anyone else knows? Like, she knew.
Yeah.
Or the Babadook knew. Just
Yeah,
I can't
because
see where
she's
I'm
being it's very clear that she's possessed at this point, because she starts yelling through the door, and it is this demonic voice.
Yeah, you can hear the Babadook coming out and the way she's talking.
Here's the thing, though.
And how weirdly calm she is.
It's weird. Her voice is different, but you could feasibly say she would be able to make that sound.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the thing. That's what makes me
Well, you can't
still go with the psychosis theory.
You can't feasibly say that she could do what she does next, which is hop up or climb up the door, hold on the door frame, and swing her body with momentum she would not have to knock in the door. I don't think you can. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Looking at her physical condition, she was definitely had to be possessed to do that because that would require great grip strength, and that's really about it.
Also, like the way it's done, you can tell that is a possession thing.
That is fair.
Also, the door, that part of the door frame would come off depending on how good it was built.
Well, considering how quickly the door fell, I would say, yeah, it would have definitely come off. And the cockroach infestation, too.
The cockroach.
Also, shout out, she ripped out a tooth after she killed the dog.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
She had been kind of like massaging her mouth, and like her tooth was like bothering her for half the movie, and then she just rips the tooth out.
Problem gone.
But no biggie. Just gotta rip out my tooth real quick.
Yet again, I would like to bring up the feat of grip strength that it would take to pull out one's own tooth between grabbing a wet surface and just pinching between two fingers. We're talking world record levels of strength here.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. People with psychosis can also accomplish like feats of strength. It's the same as like fight or flight or panic or someone's stuck under something and you probably have a lot more strength than you normally would.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same deal. They also hurt themselves, which is why you need to get them medical attention immediately. And I think a lot of this isn't too far of a reach for me.
So one of my fun facts that I'm going to intrude in here is during all of these scenes, there's a lot of weird screaming noises and different things. And some of those scream noises are a vocal sample from Resident Evil.
That's
and
awesome.
It's heard multiple times during the confrontation here.
I think my favorite Babadook vocal was "There's someone in the house."
Well, the thing is,
that one was
those voices leading up to that line are very similar. I got into a weird thing where I would watch sim videos of different drugs and mental illnesses. Like you can just find these on YouTube, like Sims.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to what reported voices in your head is like for psychosis / schizophrenia. It's layered on top of each other, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe one will come in really strong and say, "There's someone in the house." Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
But she
'cause
gets
that was another thing that led me to the psychosis thing was the way the voices were happening and the way she's listening to him, like batting her head back and forth really fast, like just wandering. But poor Samuel.
Yeah. So she gets into his room, and she can't find him at first. Where was he hiding in the room?
Under
I
his
missed
desk,
that.
I think.
Oh, under the desk. Okay. I thought he was either under the desk or in the wardrobe. And she looks for him immediately under the bed, and then he grabs his little dart crossbow thingy and shoots her in the arm and goes out his room and supposedly runs down the hall.
Wait, he trebuchets her in the forehead as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He uses his back-mounted trebuchet and hits her in the forehead with, what are they, like croquet balls?
I want to say cricket.
Yeah.
Probably cricket.
I was gonna say it was a cricket ball. It was a little bit too rubbery for croquet. And she chases after him, and she gets to the banister, and she says, "Run, run, run as fast as you can." which I think alludes to how when he's freaking out, she reads him fairy tales to try to calm him down. So she's trying to elude him or like get him to feel like he's safe.
Yeah.
With the fairy
Almost
tale
like she's playing a
references.
game.
Yes.
Which he's not falling for it.
No.
He hides into a cabinet, and that's when the sweet old lady neighbor, whose name's escaping me at the moment,
Ruth.
Ruth is like checks in, and like we get this really freaky scene where she comes to the door. All you see is like her eyes, and she's just like, "Yeah, we're fine. Everything's fine here. How are you?"
Stay close, stranger. The room awaits you after these messages.
And she puts on this whole thing for Samuel where she's like, I'm so sorry. You know, like I know why you're scared. I understand you're scared. And she like tries to get him in for a hug.
She's like, "We're gonna go to Ruth's house. Would you like that? We're gonna go next door. We're gonna stay there."
And
you
then
get to see your dad. Huh?
And that's when I think the kid's like, "Uh-oh."
Well, he might have been when he started choking him.
Yes, so she goes to try to choke him and he
Stabs her in the leg. Fuck yeah.
yes.
And he made sure to say sorry. He's like,
Yes.
"Sorry, Mom."
Another thing on my list, leaving a knife where a 7-year-old can get to it.
I mean,
Which
she's
is
been
good
leaving
for
that
him.
knife everywhere.
Yeah,
to be fair.
it's good for him, but like I would never leave a knife where a 7-year-old
But then
could reach it.
we get to see his Babadook trap in action.
Oh yeah, they go downstairs and then she gets home alone.
Yes.
He pulls their tripwire up and she falls down the stairs. And
What got me was the club to the back of the legs.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
And she's knocked out. And when she
Cold.
wakes up, she's tied up
really shittily, like a 7-year-old would do.
Yeah.
like
Definitely not a Boy Scout.
like how the tiny people tied up Gulliver in Gulliver's Travels.
Is that
Another fairy tale.
oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was going to also say really shittily, like a 7-year-old, because her hands get free almost immediately.
Yeah, that confirms to me that he was not a Boy Scout of any kind.
No, I don't think so.
And so she, when her hands do get free, she does start choking him. And how does she break free of the possession?
He just touches her face and makes eye contact with her.
And then
Yeah.
and then she throws up the black goo,
Yes.
the demon goo.
And
I was waiting to see if like the kid would step in it to see if there'd be any on him. I was hoping that would happen so I could like test my theory, but it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Dang it.
And they come out from downstairs, and it feels like maybe we might be done, but that's not true because Samuel looks at his mom and he says
Sorry.
What?
I'm already laughing at the wall.
Oh, yeah. And he says what was it? The Babadook never
Leaves.
right? And then he gets force ghosted up
Like a forced backhand, like a full body backhand into the wall.
No, that's when he gets pulled up the stairs.
Oh yeah, he gets pulled.
And
up the
I want to say
stairs.
another thing that leads to my psychosis theory. He does not react to any of this.
I don't
He reacts
know.
to being pulled up the stairs.
Yeah.
Does
he
he?
screams.
He
yeah,
screams for that.
He screams.
He definitely saw that
He
happen.
screams and reaches for his mother.
But when he does get popped into the wall, I mean, I think he goes,
It's so funny. So she runs after him upstairs into his room, and it's like he just gets thrown into the wall, and then he stands back up, and then he gets just thrown back into the wall. And I know it doesn't sound funny, okay?
It's
but it
like,
was
okay,
so funny.
it's because he's standing there just kind of looking like a 7-year-old and just. And then he gets back up like a 7-year-old. He's like kind of dusting himself off. Like, it's so stupidly funny for no reason.
But then they crawl up into the bed, and the bed starts shaking like crazy, and this like black pit like evolves into the back of his room, and the husband steps out.
I have a question. I actually wanted to ask you, how did you feel about this part coming up?
He says what he said to her when they were in the car here, and she relives him dying in the car accident.
Like when he gets his face chopped in half?
Yes. So I think this is when she reaches acceptance. She finally accepts what happened. She finally accepts that her husband is dead.
Because she actually had to watch it happen again.
Yes, she relived it. And the Babadook, in that fear, starts growing stronger. And she starts yelling, "Get out of my house. You're trespassing in my house." None of that is working. Until she says, "If you ever touch my son again, I will kill you." And that is the last thing she had to say. It starts
slowly going back
it's
into
shrinking.
the shadows. Like, oh,
It's shrinking.
okay.
And when it's in the clothes, the thing is when the clothes flop on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
it's because it's so small now. It doesn't fit in the clothes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get her point of view when it got back up, screamed in her face with all the light. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, it's trying to get that.
I want her point of view.
It's trying to get power back over her.
Yes,
But it doesn't work.
But it doesn't work. So
I like that we don't get a good look at the true form of the Babadook. We
I'd-
hardly get a good look at the disguise, quote unquote, of the Babadook.
I'd say the best look to look at him was probably when he was standing behind the grandma.
Yeah, that is the best look at him. And actually, that scream that the Babadook does
It
there.
It may be in the little TV shows that he was in.
Oh,
Yeah.
that too. The scream that he does there when he's trying to scare her again, and then when he runs and hides back into the basement, is actually, it's a scream that's been used in several video games, specifically Mortal Kombat 3.
No way.
The thing is,
Yeah.
I recognized a lot of the screaming sounds. I didn't know where,
Yeah,
but I was
not-
like, these are sound effects I've heard before.
Yep,
Not-
because they're
not
used
many, no.
commonly in video games.
A lot of video games actually use a lot of stock sound effects.
Right, which would be probably where this came
Yeah.
from.
Because I don't know the budget of this movie. I imagine it wasn't very high.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
How
many actors did they have? Like
Only a couple.
two main,
Two
three
main
or four
characters.
side.
Yeah. Like obviously a bunch of other random no line
yeah.
characters, but you know,
And the people who just showed up and like, hey, I got some flowers. Bye.
bye.
And never to be seen again.
Yeah. So the Babadook screams at her to try to scare her one last time, and when it doesn't work, runs to the basement and hides again. So now we move to the final part of the movie where we're seeing what she's like when she's really acting as a mother.
It is crazy how much of a difference it makes when she's showing interest in his interests and she's, talking to him like like he's actually her son.
Right.
And
Are we going before or after the Babadook became their friend?
well, this is before.
Okay.
Because technically, you have the whole sequence of his birthday party, coming and blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, that.
Before we see what's now become of the Babadook.
Yeah.
And so what we forgot to mention this earlier, but when he was drugged out on tranquilizers, basically, the Australian version of CPS comes and checks in because mom had pulled him out of school. And they come back and they check in with Samuel and his mom, and they're having a birthday party for Samuel on the actual day, which is the first time he's had a birthday party on the actual day of his birthday, which is really sad. But and they're like, and she's like, she says, my husband died on his birthday, so she doesn't really say too much else before he interrupts, because he says, my daddy died on while he was driving my mom when she had me.
And they're like, oh,
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. But she finally she finally says it out loud. This is the first time we've had her say that like out loud in the movie.
Kind of, I don't want to backtrack too far, but I'm not a fan of backtracking it for me personally myself. But I want to bring up the fact that he basically became the hero of the movie.
Oh yeah.
The kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes from little shit kickable kid to I'm rooting for this child so
Yes,
hard. I
yes.
feel so bad for him.
Dude, he went off. He totally went off with his
He went
whole-
hard.
Yeah, his whole stabbing to her mom. He attacked his mom or her mom's body at that point, but still.
Mhm.
He said sorry.
He did. He felt bad about it, but he knew it was the Babadook, so he had to do it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so
Everything's also the color grading completely changes.
Oh yeah.
It's very bright. It's
Mhm.
Yeah, and then once when they look at the mom, or you can just look at the mom and be like, oh, she doesn't look like shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't have massive bags under her eyes.
She
Like,
looks like a person.
She cleaned up pretty well, and she put her hair up and a whole bunch
She
of
didn't
stuff.
she didn't look like a person before, quite frankly.
She looked like a zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
She has reactions, like facial reactions that aren't anger.
Ooh, speaking of facial reactions, I don't know if this was just me, but there was a point where they're like showing this old lady on the TV. She kind of looked all deformed one eye as she walked up onto the people in their show, and then later on in the show, she did that same walk up to Samuel, and I swear her face was all like deformed, zombified, like just how it was on.
I
that
think
TV.
that was her on the TV. I think it was.
I think they shot that with her in like makeup.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be like a reflection of her being possessed.
Oh, I gotta hold. I'm waiting for favorite scenes questions.
We were almost there.
We're almost
I
there.
know there's like 3 things I want to talk about.
Hold on for just a minute.
We just have to close out the film's plot.
Yes.
Yeah. So we after that we get this scene where we see that she's buried the dog in the garden, and on top of that she's also planted some black roses, which is they're a symbol of I think of grief, or just like funeral symbolism, and it's another thing where we're realizing she's finally accepting it. And they're in the garden, like collecting worms and, just having a good time. Is like, it's mother-son bonding time is definitely what I see it as. But she has Samuel collect a little bowl of worms, and she takes it downstairs to the Babadook to give him a little bit of food.
And the Babadook tries to get her again, but
She calms
she's too
him
strong.
down.
She gets it under control.
I would like to bring up the masterful display of good balance that she performed.
Oh, yeah.
She like bends herself backwards and just stands up.
Like if anyone knows the cover of the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, she's basically doing that pose.
She could have won a few rounds of limbo in the pose that she did.
In her time, she probably had some fun on a cruise,
But yeah, she actually
Tequila.
it tries to scare her, and she says, "Shh, it's okay. It's okay.
I think it was more of a, oh, you're loud, and then you're okay.
You're okay. We're okay." She she talks to the Babadook almost like it's a scared child.
Yep, pretty much.
I'd like to think of the Babadook like a cat, and I have more on that later.
But she goes back upstairs and she just holds on to Samuel. She smiles, closes her eyes.
She watches him do a magic trick.
She watches him do a magic trick. We finally get to see, because he's trying to show her that magic trick like the entire movie.
Yeah, and he finally gets to show her, and
Wait a minute.
Dove! I forgot about the dove.
Was he carrying around the dove the entire time?
So he puts it. So he does this magic. He's like, nothing in my hands, and then bam, there's a coin in his hands, and she's like, wow, that's amazing. And he says, Mom, I'm not done with the trick.
But wait, there's more.
And he puts the coin into this like platter with a lid on it, and he like pumps the lid for a second, and then he goes abracadabra, and he lifts the lid, and there's a whole live dove in there.
And she's just like, oh, wow.
Where did the dove come from?
How did you do it?
Where did the dove come from?
Yeah, where
With,
did
like,
it?
actual concern?
Child, where did you get the dove?
Where did the dove come from, child?
How long has he been carrying that dove in the movie?
I know.
Well, the funny
right?
thing is, she's like, oh, that's great. But we're all on the couch like, but how'd he do it, though?
No, it's not even just how'd he do it. Like if it was like a fake dove or something
Where'd he
that would
get it?
that would have been in his magic kit, I would have been like, oh, that's so cute. That's great. Where did he get a live dove?
There is no evidence that he keeps birds in that house.
I just am so confused.
Luck. He
Yeah.
happened to close the cloche. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The cloche. Right as the dove flew under it.
I guess
And
so.
she didn't notice.
I guess so. That's magic for you.
But then he holds her and then he closes her eyes and then we got 2 credits
Yes.
and the movie's over.
All right.
So the movie's over. This is the section of the episode, Connor, where we just go down the line and you give your thoughts and maybe leads to some discussions and we'll all give a rating at the end.
And you can tell us your favorite scene, Connor.
Tell us your favorite scenes, whatever you have.
All right. So
Satisfy us with your notes you didn't get to talk about.
I actually hit most of my notes. There's like, let me look at them. Looking. Yeah, everything got hit except for one thing, and I'm going to bring that up. My favorite scenes, which I've been wanting to talk about this whole time. It's actually a tie between these 2 scenes. It's between the scene where the mom looks over and sees the Babadook in the old lady's house, and the other scene is when the book came back. If you noticed, there were 3 knocks every time the Babadook or whoever knocked at the door.
Mhm.
But the second time around, it was bang, bang, bang. It's cold. That scene was cold.
Mhm.
Cold as ice.
Another scene that I could probably put in, okay, not probably, but will put for number 3, which I missed because I was typing a note, is when the hat comes down the chimney. That's just one of those moments where like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Hey, it's going down.
Yeah.
See, like I saw it coming because the way the shot was framed with the chimney in the back, like on right in focus behind her. I'm like, something's happening in that chimney.
I saw it coming because the video I watched for research for this episode literally was like, and then the hat falls down the chimney behind her. And this signifies
the drop.
death drop.
So why I think the Babadook is a cat.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
with my experience with cats, I am allergic, so I tend to keep away from them. And knowing cats, if you don't give them attention, they come to you.
Mhm.
The Babadook, in my eyes, is seeking attention and is just wanting to be acknowledged. It's a cat.
You heard it here first, everybody.
The Babadook is either a cat or another 4-year-old child because the mentality is about the same.
It's not the manifestation of grief, everybody.
Like
It's a cat.
I'm sitting over here listening to Ashton's like well drawn, thought out plan on the stages of grief. I'm like, cat.
Y'all tell I took AP psychology in high school.
Alrighty. Well, any other thoughts?
Nah, nothing that comes to the top of my head. But favorite scenes, which I'm sure you're gonna ask each other that, but I'm asking you guys. What are your favorite scenes? I'll let you guys decide who goes first.
I'll let you go first.
I think
Ladies first.
what comes to mind, it's definitely for me the confrontation scene. I think that's got to be my favorite. I think it's really well shot. And I like the moment where you realize that it's her coming to terms with her son and no longer hating him and wanting to protect him that finally breaks the grip of the Babadook.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And here, I guess we'll just do it this way. You just go into what are your thoughts overall on the film?
Ooh, I guess I didn't really cover that, but continue.
Yeah. It's a very hard-hitting film. It's not a great viewing experience for me, quite frankly. It's a little bit too traumatizing for that. Psychological horror is not my thing, I don't think. It's not that I get lost in it or anything. I think the problem for me is that I get pulled out in it just trying to analyze like a therapist would. And so I don't get hit with the fear as much. In fact, I think I only had one jump scare in the entire movie, and it was just a loud sound at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the film is not very jump scare.
Oh, no,
heavy
but
at all.
like
And
it just didn't scare me, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's what I love about that film. There's no jump scares, and there's no like typical chase scenes where both the victim and the killer are running through whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did it in that movie was she would run away, and then he's just, I'm in the room too.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to a different room. I'm in this room too.
I'm literally everywhere. I follow you. I'm a part of you. essentially.
I'm literally a manifestation of your grief. You can't escape me.
You can't get rid of me. It's in the book.
But I do know somebody else's somebody important's take on this movie, and that is William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist.
Oh.
Who said of the film, I've never seen I've never seen a more terrifying film than The Babadook. He thought the movie was very scary.
That's high praise.
That's very high praise
very
because
very
I
high
think
praise.
his movie is like the best horror movie so far that I've watched. So,
another compliment I like to give to the movie is it kind of does. I don't want to say like a slow pan, but it just pans to. I'm talking about my favorite scene specifically here that I just talked about is how it just pans to the Babadook just being into the shot. Like it doesn't appear into the shot. Just hey, there he is in the background. And it just gives you this like fear of realizing that he's there.
yeah, that is one praise I can give the movie. It's very well directed.
Yes.
You can tell it's very well directed and shot. And another fun fact, Jennifer Kent was really worried about having a child actor in this movie. Even though it was very necessary, she was very sensitive about the themes with Noah Wiseman, who played Samuel. And she gave him a child-friendly version of the story. And anytime Essie Davis had those like abusive scenes, kind of, Noah would deliver the lines to adult actor who like stood on his knees. And she said, I didn't want to destroy a childhood to make this film. So
That's awesome.
That's really good.
yeah.
I love when a director really takes care to make sure a child actor in a horror film is not exposed to things that are going to traumatize them as a kid.
Yeah. And actually to get scared reactions from him, she would say things like, I'm going to take your Legos and throw them into the river.
That's great. Well, it's like, I love stories like
His
that.
actual fears.
Like when I think like there's like I think of Alex Vincent in Child's Play, like they get him, they were terrified he was going to be terrified of the doll. So they just let him meet all the puppeteers and they showed him everything about how it works. And to the point where at the end, he just wasn't scared of it. But he was a very talented child actor because that scene where he, I'm getting to a different movie, where he's crying in the mental hospital. He said, he's like, I just thought about my mom dying.
Oh my God. On that note, though, I think Noah was a really good actor.
He did a great job.
Can we Google that?
2014, okay, so 2014 is when this movie came out. So it's probably filmed in 2013 would be my guess.
If any
And
guesses?
he was born in...
Any guesses before we find out the age?
I'm trying to find...
I'm going to say like 10, probably. He was probably about like...
His IMDb page does not have his date of birth, unfortunately.
Somewhere between like 8 and 10.
I want to say 9, maybe 8.
Yeah.
I think 2007.
Oh, that's my brothers. I should know how old they were in 2014. Oh, 7. That's 7.
7.
That's 7 years old.
That's
So that's the age of the character. So yeah. Wow.
That is very
He was
impressive developmentally wise for a kid.
He was
act
very
like that.
convincing throughout this whole thing. Like his screams were so convincing.
Yeah, that's what makes it a lot of the scenes with him so upsetting.
Yeah, because he is so convincing. And I think what leads into that is that the director played to him instead of having him play to her.
I
agree.
I want like a behind the scenes film where like I just want it to have a camera keep rolling after they do like a scream scene or like a scene where he's screaming or like where they scare him. Like, oh, that was funny. Can I get some ice cream now? Or can I finish that ice cream?
But yeah. But my thoughts on the movie.
Sorry.
I remember when this movie came out, I had seen it that year. So I watched it in 2014 and it was very hyped. And I also bought into all the hype when I watched it and I felt it. And I thought, this is the best movie in horror I've ever seen. I'd say this is probably the first example of this kind of new wave of what I hate this term, but I'm going to use it because there's not another term, elevated horror, which is stuff like anything A24 has been doing basically. This was probably what started that craze. And I'd only seen it the one time, and as time went on, I started to kind of bury it in my brain as like, oh, it's overrated. It's not that great. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people started to do that. And I think it's now reached a point where it's been called overrated so much that now it's underrated because this movie's really good and it's really effective. And it made me feel things as an adult that I didn't feel when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also a big difference.
This is one of the few movies that I could like walk away and say, I like this movie as itself in a whole.
Yes.
There's not very many movies where I could say that. The two movies off the top of my mind are Ready Player One and the Grand Budapest Hotel, which the Grand Budapest Hotel probably has the best camera work in any movie that I've ever seen because of its unique style. But that's not a horror movie, so let's continue.
So, how many dead Westland Terriers would you give this movie out of 10?
What? Oh, is 10 good?
This is just how we do. Yeah, this is just how we do ratings. Just goofy. I guess this one's just kind of sad, but
you can't just have
their theme to the movie. Yeah,
you can't just say use dead dogs as a good rating.
Okay, imagine the dead dogs are stars. How many stars would you give this movie out of 10?
I'd have, just because this is one of those movies that I said I have to give this one a 10. For me personally, this is a 10 movie. There's not much I could change about this movie that I would be like, hey, I think this would be a better idea. I don't think there's much I could change for me that I would do in a creative direction.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to disappoint Connor on this one.
Go ahead.
I'm giving this movie 5 dead Westland
Only
Terriers
5
out of 10. Yeah.
Wow, that was shocking. You've been like saying good things about the movie the entire episode.
She did say that it's not. I forget how you said it, but you like it's not your type.
It's not my type of horror movie. And even on the psychological horror spectrum, it didn't hit me as hard as most of them do, because most of them do leave me just literally a ball of anxiety, and this one really didn't. I don't know. It's just not my thing.
I guess, and Ashton, you do have a tendency to more rate towards your personal enjoyment rather than quality of film. I think that's an important disclaimer for your ratings.
It is. My ratings are based upon my personal enjoyment of the movie. So on enjoyment of this movie, it wasn't my favorite.
See, that's your opinion. I respect it. But it's wrong.
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Can't be any more in the middle than 5.
7.5. Exactly in the middle. But this is probably more of an 8 out of 10 dead Westland Terriers for me. I'm assuming it was. I think it was a Wesley Terrier. I might be wrong on the breed. It's a really good movie. It's still all of my top 10 movies are 10s pretty much, or high like 9.5s. This doesn't quite breach into that territory for me, but it's a very, very good film, very effective, and very very clear on what it wants to be, if that makes sense.
Stay close, stranger. The room awaits you after these messages.
For me to reiterate my stance, for like that group of movies I was talking about for the 10s, this one's a horror movie, and there's not too many horror movies that I like quite genuinely enjoy as much as this one.
And I think that's very fair. But that's the Babadook. But this show's not quite over yet, because we still have to do a very quick little Q&A section.
Woo! We all
Once
made
again,
the same sound.
go to discord.gg/Jumperscape if you want to get your questions answered on the show. We pretty much don't skip any of them unless they are completely ridiculous. Last week we had one of those, and I'm not doing that anymore.
What he said.
Shout out Tom Cruise, aka Wormlord Austin in the Discord.
What a guy.
Haunted house recommendations, says Flyboy Pfeiffer. That's hard because that's very local.
Yeah.
I'd say
of Terror.
Yeah, I'd say your local if you have a local amusement park, their haunt is always a good time. It's probably not going to be the most intense haunted house that you could go to,
but they can be so much fun.
Yeah, they are so much fun. Don't get me wrong.
I'd say for our area of Ohio, can we say that state?
The Ohio Reformatory is a great one. They have a great haunt. It's called Blood Prison.
I haven't been to that, but Factory of Terror, probably the one you said. Yeah, I want to check out the one that you said, actually.
Oh, it's really fun. I want to go this year.
I want to go so bad.
Another good one is I feel like every state has one called 7 Floors of Hell, but Ohio has one. I've not been to it. I've just heard they throw you off the roof.
I got to do it.
You don't have to get thrown off the roof.
I have to do it.
But you can get thrown off the roof.
He saw my face.
Yes,
he saw my
you don't
face.
have to. They also can lock you into a casket. You don't have to get locked into the casket.
How long?
I don't know.
The best horror experience haunted house that I think I've had was probably, it wasn't the best. Sorry. The one I had a lot of fun interacting with, and I think it's just because I finally got used to haunted houses, was probably Factory of Terror. That's our like local, like, you know, you just walk through a whole bunch of haunted houses thing.
It held the record. I don't know if it still does, but it held the record for the world's longest haunted house. It's
so much fun. And in one of them, there was like this person with a like baby on a stick, and he kept yelling at us to touch the baby. And
oh my god!
When we didn't, it told us to go sit in the corner, and I went and sat in the corner. It was the best haunted house interaction I've ever had. I think
it is funny because he told you and another friend that was with us to sit in the corner, but I thought he was talking to me, so I also sat in the corner with you.
He said, "Hey, not you."
And I was like, "Oh, I'm already here."
my favorite interaction out of that was probably when there's a bunch of papers on a desk. I'm like, "No, my biggest fear, paperwork." He goes, "You've misfiled your taxes."
Oh, and we got a doubloon at the end too.
Yeah, some pirate guy gave us a doubloon.
Yeah, that's the best haunted house experience I've ever had, just because I had so much fun with the scare actors.
Also, there's in between every house there's a bar.
Oh, you beat me to it. Don't forget the
too
spinny
young
chairs.
for
Oh,
it.
the spinny chairs.
The spinny chairs.
I can't wait to go when I can actually like go up to the bar and get a drink.
Oh yeah, you weren't 21
I
yet.
wasn't 21 yet. We went before the 5th. Anyway,
Whoops.
You still got to experience the spinny chairs, though.
Yeah, that is true. I don't think we got on the spinny chairs.
no, we
though.
didn't.
Oh, you missed out. But I think the thing that probably scared me the most at Factory Terror was they have this stack of barrels that just kind of fake falls over on you. That was probably the most genuine fear I have felt in a long time. Because I'm like, how heavy is
The
this
dark
about to
room.
be?
The dark room got me when I can't see in front of me. That's the end for me.
Remember, you know how they have those giant like puppet monster heads they push out at you?
Yeah.
One time I just got decked with one. Like they pushed it out and it just slammed into my shoulder and I fell.
Did they say anything to you?
No, I just got up and I was like, ow. Like, and one time they had one of those like, they had a scare actress on one of those bungee things and she was like a clown. And like, I just remember I was like, bring it in. And like, she bungeed over and like gave me a quick bro hug and then came back.
That's
went
so
back.
cool. I love
That's
interacting with
awesome.
scare actors. That's my favorite thing to do.
But yeah, haunted houses are great. Visit one in October.
Absolutely.
And maybe Christmas if they support that.
Some of them have them for every holiday. There was a Valentine's one in Columbus
Why didn't we go?
because we couldn't do anything until like after 5 and drive to Columbus. We would have made it actually,
I would have loved to do that.
Columbus is far.
but think it's a haunted house.
Yeah.
They probably open at like 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth it.
This is this is broad. What's your favorite horror movie and why? Says Jadlam 1999. Well, we know Connor's answer.
The Babadook.
So far, mine's The Exorcist.
So we know your answer too. I just realized.
Yeah. Yep, I said that earlier.
Mine is always a toss up. I never can answer it. So I'm gonna give both of them credit. One's the namesake of the show, and that's The Shining.
Mm.
And 2 is Dario Argento's Suspiria, which
What is that?
it is a good movie.
I'll have to
With
see
a
it.
bopping soundtrack.
The really bopping soundtrack. It was 70s. It's a giallo movie, which is basically Italian, but it's an Italian movie that's in English with actors from all over Europe, all dubbed in English.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst explanation of what a giallo movie is. But
I watched a Dead Meat episode on Giallos, so I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, that's what they are. Freddy versus Jason, who's winning? We have a whole movie about that.
Didn't we answer this one already?
No.
Oh no,
it was-
who's winning? It was That was the one.
That was
with
Freddy and someone else. No, Jason and someone else.
I don't know enough about those characters.
Well, we have a whole movie. It's called Freddy versus Jason, and Jason wins.
Was it?
Jason
Spoiler alert.
wins. Really?
Was
Yeah.
It a good
Oh,
movie,
my vote would have been for Freddy.
I figured.
It's fun for the fight scenes between Freddy and Jason, but it's not a good movie. It's
I
really
would've said
bad.
Freddy.
I'll go for the fight scenes.
Okay, well, you've seen Nightmare.
Yeah. Is it?
When Freddy gets pulled out, he's just a dude now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Guess what? He gets pulled out.
Oh.
There's 3 rounds in that movie. The first one, Freddy wins because it's in Jason's dreams.
Yeah.
The second one, Jason wins, but Freddy gets away. And then the third one, it looks like they both die, but then Jason. Well, no, I completely misdid that. The main character, Jason comes out of the water and stabs Freddy in the gut and it, like through the chest with his machete, and then falls back in the water. And then the main character slices off Freddy's head. So technically, I guess the main character wins,
That checks.
but Jason comes out of the water still alive, holding Freddy's head. But then Freddy winks at the fucking camera at the end.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was gonna ask which Freddy it is. Is it the Freddy?
It's Robert
that-
Englund.
No. But is it like
It's funny Freddy.
it's funny Freddy? Okay, that's what I was. wondering.
It's not peak completely stupidly funny Freddy, but it's still funny Freddy.
So it's not doing stand up, jumping out of a bush and doing stand up, and then trying to stab somebody.
Yeah, pretty much. favorite horror movie franchise. This guy said favorite horror movie / franchise, but since someone literally just above him asked what favorite horror movie, I'm going to say, what's your favorite horror franchise?
Oh man.
Well, since I'm newer to this, the only franchise I guess I've experienced is the newer It. If that counts
Technically,
as a
you've
franchise.
seen Exorcist and Exorcist Believer.
Okay, and Exorcist 2.
Which, oh yeah, I forgot you watched that.
Don't watch Exorcist 2. It'll ruin your opinion of all of it.
I guess it is technically a franchise because there's more than 2 movies, technically.
Yeah.
Because if you count the miniseries.
Well, but if you think about the marketing and the amount of money.
I personally consider a franchise more than 3 movies.
Okay. Well,
Because 2 movies is a duology, 3 movies is a trilogy. I'd say after that, you're not going to quadrilogy or whatever the word would be. You're saying franchise.
franchise to me always is like a thing I think of in marketing terms.
That's fair.
And in marketing terms, it would definitely be one.
That's fair.
And so that would be my favorite because I love those movies.
Do you have an answer, Connor?
No.
Connor's not actually huge into horror films. He just loves the Babadook and wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
He's actually a horror movie baby. Don't lie.
I used to be. There was a point in time where I'm like, I don't want to watch this, too scared. But now I'm like,
We'll get
okay.
you. We'll get you into them. Stop pressing the buttons.
Although the next movie I want to watch again is probably that Smile movie at some point.
Okay.
Like
Whenever we do that,
whenever
we'll have you.
We'll let you know.
I would love to do a 5-person episode with the whole library crew on it.
That'd be fun.
Can we do like a shock movie if we do all 5 of us? Like a human centipede shock movie or Saw.
Oh.
Saw's not a shock movie.
No.
No, it's not. Saw, yes, there's gross torture scenes in it, but there's
That's not
shock capital S movies that I don't think of Saw as a shock movie anymore.
the only reason why
My answer.
let's do that.
It's your turn.
It has to be Child's Play / the Chucky movies.
That's what I thought it was going to be, honestly.
Literally own one of the Trick or Treat Studios good guy replicas. And if you are in the community, you know how much those cost.
And it's so frightening. Okay, so one time I went to like mess with his Chucky to fuck with him. He had a full knife under this Chucky. Do you know how much that freaked me out, guys? I go to mess with this doll, and there was
for somebody to move him.
Full like it wasn't
a kitchen knife.
It was a kitchen knife. Yeah, I was so freaking freaked out. I was like, James, how did Chucky get a knife? How did Chucky get a knife, James?
It had been under there since the moment I put him in the sitting position up there. I don't remember why it was in my room. I think it was. Honestly, I might have gotten it to open his box when he arrived. I had it under there for that expressed reason. If someone tried to move him to freak me out, that they would in turn. It was a booby trap, essentially. It was a scare trap.
James
that they would get. I was thinking with 5 head.
James is out here playing checkers while Ashton's playing.
I'm playing chess. She's playing checkers.
I fucked that up. Wow.
He moves this Chucky doll like half the time to freak me out. He moved it so that it looks at the bed, and I think I went to the bathroom or something, and you moved it because I came back and I was like, why is Chucky looking at us? James, why is Chucky looking at us? Chucky freaks me out. He freaks me out bad. And the reason I was moving him was I was trying to put him in the closet to jump scare James.
I put him in the pantry one time to jump scare my mom.
How'd that go?
That's so mean.
Great. But anyway, Tom Cruise wants to know, is Aliens, plural, a horror movie? And I'll just answer this real quick. Yes and no. There's this thing called horror adjacent. It's a term that you put with movies that are adjacent to horror. Like Jurassic Park is horror adjacent. It's not a horror movie, but it's horror adjacent. Aliens is an action movie based in a horror franchise. That means I call it horror adjacent.
I feel like we're going to have to do a whole episode on this topic because I feel very strongly about some movies.
I know.
That are considered horror or not considered horror. So,
and that's why horror adjacent exists as a term.
For future reference, we will. I'm making it. We're doing an episode about that because I feel very strongly about these things.
We'll get there eventually. And this is okay. Lactating Gator asks, what's yours for video game? I think he meant your favorite video game horror movie adaptation.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Does he mean adaptation of a horror movie into a video game or adaptation of a video game into a horror movie?
I feel like it's
there's not many of those. Like
adaptation from a video game to a movie.
You have, okay, in terms of video game horror adaptations into film, you have Five Nights at Freddy's, Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
No, well, you just wanted to know the answer to the question.
I'm going to answer both.
I think I've only played Friday the 13th.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well.
Texas Chainsaw.
I
don't like either of those games.
I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it's a fun game.
The concept of hiding.
Which is why you should play
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight looks more tedious to me. But on the reverse interpretation of that question, I have to agree. It's Five Nights at Freddy's.
Loved Five Nights at Freddy's. I need to see it sober sometime. Both the times I saw it, I was drunk. And if you know me, which most of you don't, but you will get to know me. I love Five Nights at Freddy's. I know everything about the lore. Matt Pat leaving the internet is breaking my heart. And I was like leaning over and messing up my lore so bad. I was wasted the first time I watched it. And then I was like halfway wasted the second time. So I need to watch it so I can tell Matt Pat his film theory about it is wrong. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm glad my throwing off worked because you're going to get to watch Five Nights at Freddy's sober next week.
This is amazing.
Because next week we will be covering Five Nights at Freddy's.
I'm so excited.
The movie.
I'm so excited, guys. Oh, now I watched that Matt Pat video for research. That's perfect.
It's gonna be the Ashton show next week. I will have opinions and things I need to say, but it's gonna be the Ashton show.
I was the middle schooler obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, so I know so many things.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I never thought Five Nights at Freddy's was gonna stick when I saw it popping up in my feeds and whatnot. I'm like, the fact that it's still around it shocks me.
It's a machine.
It's amazing.
But that's
I gotta restrain myself. Because
we gotta save it for next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be next
because
week.
Guess what? We have a Patreon. Can you guys please help us out? There's plenty of people there already helping us out unintentionally. Well, now intentionally. Most of them know about the show at this point. But yeah, Jumperscape. Patreon.com/Jumperscape. Please go there and you can hear something very special, and that's me saying your name.
What he said.
So I would like to thank Jacob Adlam. Connor, please stop dissing the West Coast. At least keep Washington out of it. I'll give you Austin's McChickens. Dark Salad 42. Dick Hammerbush. No! I'm so glad I finally had you this week for that. Hounds of Meath. It's Default 456, Lactating Gator, Mando, Cool Blaze, Kyle Hooley, Momegat Yalin, Spartan Habuko G156, Addy, Criminal, Connor Clark, Dylan, Garrus Valkyrian, Lactating Milk MT, Mass the Merc 4664, Perplexed Panic, Preacher, Lactation of Mercy, Vermin, Brendan Pfeiffer, Sakai Cairo, Eliza, JX O'Malley, Keith G077, Oddball here, Aussie ODST, Damian Groth, Drew Ledbetter, Ginger Bolthead S, Hayden Hamilton, it's default 2.0, lactating snake nipples. I'm going to say it with a straight face one of these times. Mando 2.0, Pity 104, The Goob, Throne of Lactating Woe, Tom Cruise, Austin, Tyler Neal, Wraith, X3TN, Keegan, Warm Applesauce, otherwise known as Ungoy Food Nipple, and Potassium.
Didn't it
Thank you very much for being our patrons. We love you.
Yep.
We couldn't do the show without you.
We do. We love you so
The show
much.
literally would not exist without you because Jumperscape would not exist and I would not have the avenue to make this a thing that happened.
We love you guys.
all of you are awesome.
So please join us next week as we talk about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Join them.
Support us on ko-fi or coffee/jumperscape.com/jumperscape. Whoops.
Yeah!
And of course, come chat with us about Five Nights at Freddy's and all of your theories and all of your lore bits next week by joining us in the Jumperscape Discord at discord.gg/Jumperscape. So thank you once again for joining us in room 237.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining us this evening, stranger. If you enjoyed your time with us, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/Jumperscape or join the community at discord.gg/Jumperscape. We thank you for your listenership and hope you enjoyed.